Our protagonist, Juki, is a high school student with a childhood friend named Yuhi, who's always trailing him like a shadow. Rumors swirl around them, whispering about a secret romance, but Yuhi couldn't care less. She sees their bond as a lifelong friendship, unbreakable and pure. Before Juki can say more, she gently places her hand on his head, marveling at how much his hair has grown just like old times. With a playful smile, Yuhi offers to trim his hair again, just like when they were kids. Her innocent, adorable face fills Juki with a rare warmth, a moment of peace between them. Yet, as they chat, Juki's mind drifts to another world suddenly. Darkness falls outside, and right in the middle of their classroom, a radiant magical portal bursts open. Juki instantly recognizes it the gateway to that other realm. A flash of light sweeps through the students, and they find themselves transported to a wild, unfamiliar land. There, monstrous demons advance menacingly. One demon charges straight at Juki, but Yuhi rushes to shield him with a desperate embrace. Luckily, Juki's latent magical power bursts forth. A mere snap of his fingers sends the creature flying. Just in time, human soldiers arrive to back them up. Juki wonders why the battle hasn't ended yet. It should have been over long ago. Then, he senses an overwhelming magical force, a cursed power unlike anything he's ever felt. Elka appears, guiding the students back to their kingdom, while the rest continue to fight off the demons. Back in the kingdom of Dizia, these reincarnated students from another world are bewildered but summoned by the king as legendary heroes. Dizia is under siege by demonic forces, reminiscent of the chaos from 5 years past. Once again, heroes from beyond have come to save a land on the brink. The students are both surprised and anxious as they're asked to lend their strength. With no other choice, they agree to stay for a few days. What follows are grueling days of combat and magic training. Yuhi's natural talent shines through, earning praise from the instructors. But just as Juki sneaks off training, he runs into Elka's stern figure, who reprimands him for disrespecting his superiors. She warns him not to underestimate this world. It's far more dangerous than he thinks. His reckless attitude reminds her painfully of a selfish hero from 5 years ago, careless and indifferent, especially towards women. Elka's serious warning is cut short when Nu suddenly charges forward, only to get a sharp smack on the rear that leaves her blushing furiously. The shock makes Elka realize this move can only come from one person, Lord Suu. Her sudden change in demeanor throws Juki into confusion. Soon after, Elka reverts to her usual seat, sighing that Juki seems lighter than before. Despite the time passed, his presence still unsettles her. Granny watches this scene and can barely hold back laughter. When Elka confirms that this is truly Lord Suu, Juki feels certain it's him and hurries to meet Tar. To everyone's surprise, Tar immediately senses good news. Lord Su has returned. Although Su's magical aura has changed, Elka is sure it's unmistakable. They reunite joyfully, but when Tar notices Juki's troubled expression, she guesses he's worried about the ongoing demon war. They decide to move their conversation to a quieter place. Elka wonders what mysterious fate has brought them all together at this critical moment. He returned to this world because after that battle, Lord Ssu vanished without a trace. Honestly, even Juki can't fully grasp what happened. But one thing he's certain of: retained all his memories and magical power before reincarnating into this new world. Yet Juki can't help but wonder, what became of his rival Toma? He suspects Toma might be tangled up in this mess, and I feel it too. Sure enough, those demon tribes have been puppeteered by a curse. Elka explains that they've been searching for both him and Lord Ssu but found no trace. If Ssu still lives, then surely Toma does too. Suddenly, a soldier rushes in with reports. His Majesty has issued orders, and an ominous premonition hangs in the air. After GRYC, the three of them gaze out, certain this is the fragile peace Ssu fought so hard to claim. This peace must never be lost. The ruler declares full-scale war against the demon tribes. The princess states that the demons were the aggressors, invading without warning or negotiation. Meanwhile, heroes summoned from other worlds stand as symbols of justice allied with their homeland. His Majesty is disappointed. Such peace treaties should never hinge on the words of wandering heroes. 5 years ago, the disappearance of those champions hinted the gods desired unity in this world. At the same time, Yuhai trains alone in the courtyard when Juki appears behind her, praising her progress. Yuhai blushes happily but suddenly falters, sensing this training might be meant to hurt someone. She struggles to understand why war exists. Her eyes shimmer with resolve as she declares that if she truly masters magic, she'll protect Juki with everything she has. Hearing this, Juki can't help but smile warmly. After their meeting, the trio steps outside to report the grim news to Jukithe. Fear of full-scale war is unavoidable. Yet Juki is far from disheartened. Instead, a spark of excitement lights his eyes. If this is Toma's scheme, then all the more reason to fight back. Inspired, the three vow to stand by Juki's side as his personal guards, but unexpectedly, Juki insists he must face this alone. If Toma's involved, the rest should stay back and fight the war. His decision leaves no room for refusal. The four then cloak themselves in invisibility magic, sneaking into the warehouse to retrieve weapons for Juki. Once ready to depart, LK's group pledges to stall the enemy as long as they can until Juki returns. Suddenly, Yuhai rushes in, breathless, demanding to know where he's headed. With no choice, Juki confesses that this is his second summoning to this world, and to stop the war he must seek out an old acquaintance. Juki grows anxious, wants Yuhai to come along, convinced she can help, but he refuses, wanting to shield her from danger. Seeing his seriousness, Yuhai calms and presses against him, asking him to close his eyes. The young man is puzzled until she proudly reveals a new magical skill she just learned. She promises to become stronger so that even in this world, she can protect him. Juki nods, teasing that only if she dodges his playful headbutt will she truly pass the test. Smiling, they part ways, and Juki sets off on his journey. Meanwhile, Juji is an adorable girl who always shadows her grandfather, a master jeweler. But he has passed away, leaving Juji alone and lonely. Before his death, he entrusted her with one final mission. On a silent, moonlit night, Juji's horse suddenly halts, sensing an approaching danger. A wild boar lunges at her carriage, throwing both her and her belongings into disarray. Luckily, the precious box holding a valuable hairpin remains unharmed, bringing Juji relief her grandfather would have haunted her otherwise. But as she turns, her eyes meet the fierce gaze of the boar, and tears well up from fear. Just then, Juki appears, swiftly taking down the beast and saving her. Juji eyes him warily, fearing he might steal her money, warning him payment only comes after delivery. Juki smiles gently, refusing payment, but Juji insists her grandfather taught her nothing is free. After Juji's firm words, Juki helps her up, the kindness in his face, reminding her of a customer who once visited her grandfather's shop. Seeing her travel alone without protection worries Juki, but when he tries to leave, Juji quickly pleads for him to escort her, promising a reward. Juki initially refuses, citing urgent matters, but Juji's innocent, pleading eyes wear him down. With a sigh, he agrees to accompany her a short distance, but in return, he dumps a pile of her cargo behind, leaving Juji both grateful and regretful. The next morning, they finally reach the bustling port town, its growth a testament to 5 years of post-war commerce. Juji tells Juki she's rented a ship to continue her journey, but upon hearing her destination, the demon continent, the ship's captain immediately refuses. The war raging there makes the voyage too dangerous. Juji's frustration shows as she scours every dock for a willing captain, but none dare to take her to such peril. Juki watches helplessly as Juji struggles. Suddenly, knights from Dizia stop Juji to inspect her merchant papers. The soldiers express a mix of sympathy and envy, amazed that a little girl like Juji would risk so much chasing coins, unlike those forced into danger. They demand to search her bag, but Juji refuses to let them take her grandfather's precious belongings. When threatened with confiscation, she's frozen with fear until Juki steps in. Calm and imposing, Juki warns them that any inspection requires proper merchant permits. The knights bristle, demanding to know who he is. Juki simply replies he is Juji's protector. Still, they attempt to intimidate the pair, but as they draw swords, nearby citizens notice and start whispering. Reluctantly, the knights back down, leaving Juki and Juji unharmed. Juki mutters that Elk and Gren must have a tough time handling these soldiers. Just then, the scene shifts to Juji's courage, and Juki's steadfast guardianship, a bond forged in the fires of conflict. Their journey through this war-torn world is just beginning, a story of resilience, trust, and the unyielding human spirit. If you've ever felt powerless like them, take a breath and wonder, how did I survive my darkest nights? Sometimes, what we need isn't magic but someone who believes in us, even once. As they walk through the bustling port, you can almost hear the heartbeat of a world trying to heal. And if you were in their place, would you fight for peace or prepare for the storm? Maybe, just maybe, anime isn't fiction. It's a mirror reflecting our own battles and hopes. Thanks for sharing this journey with me. No dialogue in the original. No rewrite necessary. No dialogue in the original. No rewrite necessary. No dialogue in the original. No rewrite necessary. Doozy suddenly flew over, tears and snot all messy, and clung tightly to the young man, thanking the two brothers. Later they shared dinner together. Doozy admired the cool confidence her brother showed earlier, while Juki was deeply impressed by how, no matter what tricks Doozy's group pulled, she always kept a smile on her lips, never stirring up resentment. Feeling shy at Juki's praise, Doozy then wondered how he knew they needed a permit just to search someone. Juki explained that he once had a friend who knew these rules well. Only soldiers bearing the official insignia can search civilians. But if Doozy wanted to reach the delivery point, she had to find a ship right now. Doozy was at a loss. She thought if she couldn't scour the entire town or get help, she might buy a ship herself. What she didn't realize was the hefty price tag she'd have to pay, all because she was desperate to fulfill her grandfather's final wish. Seeing Juji's pitiful expression, Juki came up with an idea. He'd take her there, but only if she rested tonight. Juji still wanted to push herself, but Juki seriously advised her not to wear herself out and to rest first. So the two brothers rented a temporary room for the night. Before Juji went to bathe, she entrusted Juki with a precious box now. That she trusted him a little, she dared to show it to him. Juki recognized the hairpin inside. Instantly it was the enchanted jade hairpin he had once sealed with protective magic, but it seemed broken, and Juki hoped no dark fate would befall them. As the two brothers slept soundly, Juki sensed something amiss. A troop of Bantru soldiers barged straight into the rented room he had hired, ordering a search for the two, suspecting them as demon spies. Doozy, still half asleep and dazed, was suddenly startled when they stormed in, making her tremble. Juki, already prepared, moved earlier than expected, gently carrying the sleepy girl to escape. The soldiers gave chase, but Juki calmly flew straight over the lead soldier, a satisfied grin on his lips. Only Doozy, still groggy, cried out in fear as they ran. Eventually they found themselves trapped in a dead-end alley. Unfazed, Juki taunted the soldiers, daring them to come and catch them. Without hesitation, he scooped Doozy up and dashed straight into the sea before soaring into the sky, leaving everyone in shock. The soldiers gawped with wide, astonished eyes as a water dragon named Lavia rose from the ocean depths. Juki had called on Lavia to carry them to the demon continent. The soldiers looked like they'd stepped into a sci-fi dream, faces frozen in disbelief. Doozy couldn't grasp what was happening until she opened her eyes and found herself on the demon continent. Moments after their arrival, Juki introduced Levia, the sea god and his close friend, to Juji. After greetings, Levia boldly scolded Juki for not helping Juji earlier, leaving her crushed by a giant octopus. Juji was frustrated after 5 years, suddenly being summoned, then used as a ship to ferry 2 people to the demon continent, only to be treated poorly by this guy. As the two argued, Doozy wondered how such a monstrous octopus was cleaned up. Levia didn't care, blaming Juki for handling it. Soon, a plate of fried squid rings was served as a treat. Before them lay the demon continent safely, with the Matalk village ahead, where Juji was to deliver a package and meet someone Juki also wanted to see. Levia wondered why humans would deliver goods to demons, and overheard Juji mention she had sent a repair for a jacket. Levia seemed to know this person as well, setting the stage for an intriguing meeting to come. When the client's name came up, the young girl was visibly surprised. That's when Levia revealed the delivery address, the dreaded evil burrow, the very domain of the Demon King. The recipient, none other than the Demon King himself. As Juji stepped out, stunned by the revelation that the client was the Demon King, Levia excused herself, ready to return. Juji, puzzled, thought she would join Theme after all. She even knew the Demon King. But Levia's demeanor suddenly shifted. Levia's anger flared as she scolded Juji, reminding him that she had vowed to protect peace over the seas, just as she promised him. So why, after 5 long years, was Juji calling her only to make her a mere boat, and on top of that, bringing along another girl? Her words dripped with jealousy and frustration. Juji was at a loss, unable to soothe her. Suddenly, a group of demon kids appeared, teasing him had he just fought with his lover. They advised him that real men apologize first. Smarter than him, those kids! In response, Juji stuffed their mouths with fried squid rings, which the kids devoured eagerly, instantly hooked and begging for more. Levia joined the fun, knowing that if it wasn't eaten it would spoil. So, the manly Juji had to haul half a giant octopus to the demon town. In the demon town, the people were troubled. Because of that cursed squid, they couldn't venture out to fish. Wars had scared off the travelling merchants as well. The townsfolk were determined to unite against this monstrous nuisance. At that moment, Juji stood at the gates asking to temporarily store the squid. When the demon residents saw the beast turned into food, panic swept through them. That night, the villagers held a feast for the sea god. Levia was treated like a queen, while Juji was commandeered as the chef, skillfully slicing squid tentacles into tender, fragrant rings. Later, as the feast wound down, Levia wandered about and bumped into Juji, who was shouting about his fishing rod. She asked if he'd been drinking, but he only had juice. Dudi, curious, wanted to hear Levia's story how she had come to know Juji and even the Demon King. Levia sat down and began recounting that 5 years ago, Juji had crossed into her seas without permission, and she was dragged around forcibly. That was their initial encounter, But the real reason was the gunfire from a chaotic war that disturbed her peace, causing her to snap and lash out. The way Dudi heard it left Levia puzzled. Didn't Dudi recognize Juji's heroic nickname, the legendary warrior? After some thought, Dudi's eyes widened in realization her protector over the past few days was none other than the famed hero. The girl's fear bloomed, realizing she was dealing with some of the strongest beings in this realm. Juji noticed how Levia's gaze lingered on him, guessing she had fallen for him. The joyous feast was suddenly interrupted by a booming shout from Brad, captain of the Demon King's guard. Everyone braced, thinking something was wrong. Meanwhile, diligent Juji had sold all his squid rings. Juji lay peacefully on Levia's lap, drifting into a deep sleep. Brad shared his thoughts with her. Levia was truly a god manifesting in human form here, which was rare indeed. Just as Juji finished selling, Brad came to meet an old acquaintance. From subtle clues, Brad recognized Juji as the legendary warrior Seshu, but they exchanged no formal greetings. Juji asked Brad, the Demon King's closest confidant, why he had left the capital. Brad explained he was searching for Levia, surprised to find her here alongside the missing Seshu. This gave him a glimmer of hope. Suddenly, Brad pleaded with them to save the Demon King, who was trapped by a forced marriage. The Demon King had been coerced into marrying a man named Terran Snit. Though it appeared to be a marriage, it was actually a form of enslavement. This bride was cursed with a powerful necklace that suppressed her will. They were still at war because of a sudden invasion by humans about a month ago. Juji was shocked to hear humans were the instigators. Brad added that the humans had raised the flag of Destinia and deployed giant armored soldiers. The Demon King had sent envoys to the human kingdom, but none returned. Someone exploited the Demon King's hope for peace, entrusting negotiations to Terran Snit. Upon hearing that name, Juji knew a little Terran Snit was the richest merchant and head of the Terran Trade Guild. Most trading ships belonged to this guild. Suddenly, Juji realized the truth. Dessa was about to become a slave to this man in a desperate attempt to end the war. Brad confirmed this, fueling Juji's anger. Grabbing Brad's collar, Juji demanded why this was allowed to happen. Brad was about to argue when Levia cut in, saying Dessa's actions were to protect the peace she promised Juji. Yet, she was disappointed in her for trusting promises from a man who had vanished. Still, she couldn't abandon her friend. So, Juji and Levia decided to join forces to rescue the Demon King. Though the wedding date was unknown, Brad warned it would happen soon. Tehran was always surrounded by skilled guards, and monsters lurked along the way. Brad advised Juji to restrain his magic. After that, they parted ways. Juji and Levia began their journey to save their comrade. Juji sensed something strange about this war. The demons claimed humans started it, but Destinia said they were attacked by demons. He had seen armored giants attacking, but they weren't from Destinia or the demons. This wasn't a coincidence, someone was scheming. Terran, who wore the cursed necklace, was the most suspicious. The mission was clear: confront this man head-on. Levia was excited about the journey. Juji was always a bold adventurer, but 5 years ago, she had no interest in the land. Meeting Juji and traveling together changed her perspective. Alongside the missing Seshu, this sparked a flicker of hope within him. Suddenly, Brad stepped forward before them, pleading for their help to save the trapped Demon Lord. Bound by a cursed marriage, the Demon Lord was forced into union with a man named Terran Snit. Though it appeared as marriage, it was actually a chain of curse-induced subjugation, a powerful cursed necklace tightly controlling her will. She was powerless to resist, and meanwhile, war still raged on. Just last month, humanity launched a sudden invasion. Hearing humanity was the aggressor shocked Juki to his core. Brad explained that they had raised Destinia's banner and deployed massive armored soldiers. The Demon Lord had sent emissaries to the human kingdom, but none returned. Terran Snit cunningly exploited the Demon Lord's desperate hope for peace and took charge of negotiations. Juki recognized the name Terran Snit, the richest merchant and head of the powerful Terran Trading Guild. Since most trade ships belonged to this guild, Juki realized Dessia planned to become a slave to that man just to end the war. Brad confirmed this grim truth, which ignited Juki's fury. Grabbing Brad's collar, she demanded why such a terrible fate was allowed. Brad was about to protest, but Levia interjected Dessia's sacrifice was to uphold a fragile peace pact made with him. Juki was torn between anger and heartbreak, frustrated at Desia's blind faith in promises from a man who vanished without a trace. Yet, her compassion would not allow her to abandon Dessia. So, together, Juki and Levia resolved to combine their strength to rescue the Demon Lord. Though the wedding date was still unknown, Brad believed it would happen soon. Tehran was always surrounded by formidable guards, and countless monsters lurked along the way. Brad urged Juki to restrain her magic as they parted ways. Juki and Levia embarked on their daring quest to save their cherished ally. Juki sensed something deeply strange about this war. The demons claimed humanity initiated the conflict, yet Destinia insisted they were under attack by demons. Juki had witnessed armored giants assaulting them, but those beasts were neither Destinia's nor demon forces. This was no coincidence. Someone was orchestrating the chaos. Terran, with his cursed necklace, was the most suspicious figure. Their focus had to be on him. This journey stirred Levia's excitement. Juki was always fearless, a true adventurer. 5 years ago, she had no interest in the mainland, but meeting Juki changed everything. Together, they discovered the world's hidden beauty. Now, beyond fulfilling her promise to Juki, Levia herself yearned to protect the peaceful seas and a world free from war. Their path took them fiercely onward toward the Demon Lord's evil castle. As both protector and heir, Juki bore the heavy weight of responsibility like a true monarch. Having lived long, she understood that the world never bends to one's will. So she fought relentlessly until one day a stranger approached, offering a ceasefire. He gently took her hand, presenting a string of beads as a symbol of reconciliation. Deeply moved, she agreed, and all fighting paused. But then, the devastating news arrived: Seshu had gone missing. Though she never imagined such a tragedy would strike so soon. The shadow of loss began to creep in, threatening to unravel the fragile peace they had fought so hard to achieve. Though fate allowed them to meet again, DG Cher vowed anew to uphold the fragile peace sworn 5 years ago. Since the war's end, her homeland blossomed in prosperity. Cher clutched her cherished Tramsea chain, but today, it suddenly cracked, a symbol of the unrest stirring within her heart. Brad recalled a master jeweler in Destinia, famed for his skill, and offered to help fix it. Then, one stormy night, a soldier burst in, breathless, delivering grim news to the Demon Lord. The outskirts of evil were aflame with battle. The Dizia army had invaded again. Despite 5 years of peace, the old shadows were creeping back. The Demon Lord rose, rallying his forces to defend their land. Cher hurriedly dispatched Ji and Ramina to Dizia, sensing dark schemes unfolding beneath the surface. The demon warriors trembled with worry. Would they ever return? Would they face the colossal armored foes of 5 years past? Betrayed by the fragile peace treaty, their faith in humanity shattered anew. Days slipped by since the Demon King sent envoys to Dizia, yet no word came back. Cher's heart sank. Her sacred promise of peace to Sessu seemed to slip further away, while her homeland's fate hung in the balance. Suddenly, Brad arrived with a proposition from Terran Snit of the Trade Guild. Terran offered to save their nation with his guild's resources, but at a steep price. Cher must become his queen. In other words, a gilded cage disguised as a crown. For Cher, it was nothing short of a slave contract. Terran then presented a box holding a cursed oath necklace. She's plan was chillingly thorough. Her closest allies fiercely opposed this, unwilling to let their Demon King fall so low. Once Terran left, Cher sat alone, the weight of memories pressing down, memories of Sessu, the friend who once pushed her to the edge. This desperate choice seemed the only path to keep her vow of peace alive. Suddenly, Brad re-entered, face grave, opposing her plan. He believed every soldier was ready to fight for the Demon King to the very end. But Cher, torn, could not bear to let such sacrifice unfold. She felt her own weakness keenly. It wasn't just Terran pulling strings. Shadowed behind him stood a mysterious figure, cloaked in black, hungry for the demon realm. Together, they conspired to seize power. Then came the wedding ceremony. The Demon King donned a pristine white wedding gown, stepping slowly into the hall. Terran proclaimed the union would merge his strength with the demon nation, crowning him the new Demon King. Next, Cher took the eternal oath by accepting the cursed necklace. Her mind swirled with visions of Seshu, how she longed to see him once more in this final moment. Suddenly, an explosion shattered the scene. A familiar silhouette appeared just as Cher hoped. Levia rushed in to aid Zuki and Cher. The mysterious attacker struck with dark magic, aiming a fatal blow at Levia, but Juki suddenly appeared behind him, landing a powerful strike. Juki's relentless assault overwhelmed the foe, who struggled yet held back his full power. His true goal was to deliver a report to his master. Then, with a flash, he dropped a stun bomb and vanished. In the blink of an eye, Cher ran to embrace Juki from behind, tears flowing as she clung to him. Levia blushed awkwardly and begged to cut this emotional scene short so they could interrogate the mysterious intruders. But those soldiers... No additional dialogue provided in original. It seemed born from a curse, encircling the ancient seal with terrifying power. Juki finally unveiled the puppeteer behind it, all none other than the wretched demon himself. Seeing DJ's radiant spirit as a force to fight with, Juki entrusted this place to her and vowed to journey to the Beast Kingdom to gauge the unfolding threat, convinced that Demon was plotting something sinister. Levia caught wind of this too. Exhausted yet determined, just then Brad brought Doozy to meet them. The young girl anxiously inquired about Juki's well-being, then took the chance to deliver a chain of magical needles to the Demon King himself. Juki accepted them and passed them to DJ. Once more, a brilliant light ignited within her as Juki reappeared. After the fierce battle, Terra was captured. Soon after, Juki prepared to depart, though DJ desperately wished to accompany him. But as a reigning monarch, she could not leave her kingdom behind. Juki gently ruffled DJ's hair, promising that when peace returns, he would take her anywhere she desired. Meanwhile, Brad rolled his eyes at the naive Hopeno King casually wonders when peace is fragile. Thanks to the Demon King's goodwill, Doozy was granted protection to stay and open a branch here, fulfilling her long-held dream. After farewells, Juki and Levia embarked on a new journey. Juki and Yuhi had been childhood friends. At first, Yuhi found Juki distant and intimidating. Yet over time, their bond grew stronger, and as they matured, both aimed to enter the same high school. Yuhi desperately wished to attend school with Juki, but he feared she wouldn't fit in, advising her to lower her aspirations to avoid future heartache. His words wounded Yuhi deeply, fueling her resolve to study harder and prove herself. When test results came, they fell short of her hopes. Downcast, Yuhi was harassed on her way home by thugs trying to lure her in. Just in time, Juki arrived and chased them off. Seeing him, Yuhi's insecurities surfaced again, though Juki worried she was pushing herself too hard. For the first time, Yuhi bared her feelings. She yearned to attend school alongside him, despite being told it was impossible. Tears welled up in frustration. Moved by her determination, Juki gently stroked her hair, pledging his full support and warning her there'd be no mercy if she complained. Yuhi's heart swelled with happiness, vowing to always stand by Juki, the one she cherished most. At the Magic Academy in Dizia, Elk and Gren trained the students in fundamental magic. While most had mastered the basics, Yuhi's breakthrough progress earned praise from both Elk and Gren. After training, Yuhi approached them, expressing her wish for special guidance. Knowing Yuhi's past connection with Sesu, they welcomed her as a teammate. Only Elk treated her sternly, questioning why Yuhi wanted to stay close to Juki. Elk explained that peace here was forged by Sesu's efforts, and he was surely fighting to protect this world. As teammates of Sesu, they too prepared, hoping Yuhi would join. Yuhi's eyes burned with resolve. She longed to walk alongside Juki, but lacked the power to do so. Elk, less talkative, saw her seriousness and unleashed his strength to test her. Mid-fight, Elk paused, recognizing Yuhi's uniqueness among other worldly children. Despite her potential, Yuhi still lacked the decisive edge needed to truly stand with Sesu. Next, Elk led Yuhi to an underground stream where magical beasts dwelled, setting the stage for her final trial. Seconds later, Elk announced the arrival of a beast bursting from the water. Yuhi froze in fear but stepped forward and unleashed a powerful strike. Elk warned her not to underestimate it, and soon she was wounded. Gathering her final strength, Yuhi unleashed a finishing blow, knocking the beast down but hesitated to end its life. Elk urged her to finish it, warning that hesitation could cost lives on the battlefield. Reluctantly, Elk ended the beast's suffering himself. Only then did Yuhi grasp the missing piece in her strength. She was alone in the dorm, reflecting on what she'd learned. Tia entered to tend her wounds, lamenting Elk's harsh tactics but understanding his intentions. They saw in Yuhi the same fierce determination Sesu held. That was why Elk trained her so rigorously, hoping to welcome her as a true comrade. Tia couldn't fathom why Yuhi clung so dearly to Juki, knowing the dangers that awaited. But for Yuhi, having grown up alongside Juki, every help he'd given her was etched into her heart. She was determined to become his strength. Stepping outside, Tia reassured Elk that Yuhi would grow strong. Just then, Gren, finishing his duties, found Yuhi standing alone, still troubled by yesterday's events. Gren explained that hesitating to take a life was natural, even when fighting for someone precious. Yuhi asked why Gren fought so fiercely, despite the pain reflected in his eyes. Gren admitted he couldn't bear to witness suffering, yet that pain fueled his resolve. Both he and Yuhi shared their own determination, and only she could find her answer. Gren believed Sesu hoped for that too. Yuhi's resolve hardened as she mercilessly ended the demon beast before her. Alone in the dormitory, she reflected on her shortcomings, when T gently knocked and entered to tend her wounds. Tar's frustration was clear, dragging her into brutal combat without warning, but Tar understood the weight behind it. They noticed Sesu's gaze on Yuhi mirrored the same fierce loyalty he held for them, marking her as a true comrade. Because of this, LK's stern training was his way of acknowledging Yuhi as part of their team. Yet, Tar puzzled over why Yuhi clung so tightly to Juki, knowing danger lurked ahead. For Yuhi, their bond was lifelong from childhood to now, and every favor Juki had granted was etched deep in her heart. This time she vowed to be his strength in return. As Ta stepped outside, she found Elk and reassured her that Yuhi would grow strong. Just then, Gren finished his task and spotted Yuhi lost in thought, haunted by yesterday's doubts. He explained that hesitation in battle, even when lives hang in the balance, is natural. Even if the cause is to protect a loved one, such hesitation is part of their human fragility. Yuhi questioned why Gren fought so fiercely. He admitted he couldn't bear to witness pain mirrored in his own eyes. Ultimately, both had their own resolve to find answers only Yuhi could discover herself. Gren believed Sesu also awaited her decision. At last, Yuhi embraced her determination. She trained relentlessly, gathering courage. Returning to the tunnel where the demon beast lurked, Yuhi faced it once more. Though fear still gripped her, she struck swiftly and decisively, proving her newfound strength. LK watched, surprised by her growth, but Yuhi spoke up the beast wasn't dead, only temporarily paralyzed. This was her promise, to never take a life, never surrender, yet never lose. Her vow echoed Sesu's own. Though admirable, LK doubted that strength alone could preserve such a delicate balance. Yet Yuhi's face shone with unwavering resolve, certain she would grow stronger to protect everyone she loved. After grueling training, they finally received orders to march against the Demon Nation evil. Yuhi's heart soared she would reunite with Juki, fueled by fierce determination. Juki sighed at Levia's laziness, blaming her for slacking on meals, but Levia shrugged it off. With the beast continent ahead, they had time. She teased Juki about lucking out using the sea god's ship cheaply. Juki felt guilty, but wondered couldn't Levia just teleport there herself, being the sea god. Levia retorted she wasn't the boss of magic teleportation. Juki watched helplessly as little Levia lazily lounged, barely eating. Yet, Levia scolded him, saying the beast continent was quiet for now anyway. She told Juki he was lucky she let him use the sea god's power, as their ship, practically for free. Juki felt guilty hearing that, but asked since she was the sea god herself, couldn't she just teleport there instantly? Levia snapped back, I'm the sea god, not your dad. Magic teleportation is a huge hassle, takes years and enormous mana. Having already been the ship for him, Levia hinted she deserved some pocket money. On the carriage, she teased Juki to pay up if he was so good at being a captain, leaving him helpless enough to hand over his own meal. Suddenly, the carriage screeched to a halt. Juki sensed something and pulled out his hot sword just in time. A stranger hitched a dear, familiar face. Alice, Juki's tearful disciple who he hadn't seen in ages. Alice denied being a crybaby, but tears streamed down her cheeks moments later. Juki introduced Alice to Levia as a companion from before he was captured. Though he barely remembered taking her as a disciple, Alice insisted she was his #1 student forever. As Alice shared stories of the past, Levia's jealousy bubbled up. Beside her stood Amer, Alice's younger sister. Juki wondered when Alice got a sister, but Alice explained she'd taken Amer as a sworn sibling during her lonely travels. Alice then grilled Juki about abandoning his disciple for 5 long years. Before Juki could explain, Levia's threats made him quake. Once he spoke, Alice learned Juki was working to stop Tomo's sinister plot and was heading to the Beast Continent. Seeing Alice was also bound for the continent, Juki requested her help like their journey 5 years ago. Though eager, Alice was tied up in a messy case since Juki disappeared, but she wanted to keep training and had accepted a mission to exterminate demon beasts. One day, tasked by a village, Alice planned to slay a dragon in a peaceful hamlet. There, she met Amer, who stayed alone most days. Alice learned Amer wasn't from the village but was taken in by her missing older brother 2 years ago. The siblings lived together until the dragon's first appearance then. Her brother vanished without a trace. Seeing the girl's sorrow, Alice offered companionship. After wandering the world, Amer happily agreed and now saw Alice as her sister. Juki asked if the dragon had been defeated with Amer's brother gone, but Alice explained the dragon's attacks caused many villagers to disappear, mysterious lino clues left behind. Alice planned to lure the dragon by breaking a demon barrier, hoping to avenge Amer's brother. Amer, worried for Alice's safety, proudly showed off a butterfly she'd just caught to watch it fly away. Her spirited joy was a small light amid their harsh journey, a reminder of fragile hope in a world shadowed by loss and vengeance. She quickly introduced her older brother to the newcomer, and then suddenly the dragon appeared, clashing fiercely with Alice. Pushed to the brink, she cornered the beast, ready to finish it off only for it to vanish just as help arrived. Returning to the village, they found all the villagers had disappeared without a trace. Only one remained, Amer. At dawn, determined to protect him, Elise immediately took Amer to town. There, she asked the townsfolk if they knew anything about dragons kidnapping people. It was the first time they'd heard such rumors, but they agreed to help the sisters regardless. Amer gratefully thanked them. even calling Levia sister-in-law, leaving Italy shocked and speechless. After some thought, Levia guessed that the villagers had all turned into walking zombies, and spun a tale about an evil summoner threatening the sisters. Juki couldn't stand Levia's wild assumptions, slapping her on the forehead. Then she joked they might be mermaids, since sailors always blame disappearances on mermaids whose enchanting voices drag men into the sea. Juki smacked her again because, seriously, this village was nestled deep in the mountains, not by the ocean. She was dead serious. Juki then boldly declared she knew who was behind all this aliens. The group burst into laughter, only for Levia to sling a sandal at Juki's head. Levia, being a dragon herself, thought maybe the village's disappearance was connected to her kind, but firmly denied any involvement or interest in such nonsense. She scolded them not to confuse that dragon with a sea god like herself. Suddenly, their carriage stopped. The driver warned that until the water receded, crossing would be impossible. Elise planned to return to the village after reaching town to search for clues about the missing villagers. Juki wondered why the dragon attacked multiple villages at once. Levia suspected it had been lured by powerful magic, perhaps some strong sorcery in the villages attracting the beast. Dewey guessed it must be teleportation magic, since every time the dragon attacked, villagers disappeared. Elise pointed out the pattern. Whenever the dragon struck, people vanished. But what if it was the other way around? Whenever villagers disappeared, the dragon appeared. The only answer: the villagers were being taken somewhere through teleportation magic, which also attracted the dragon's magical senses. Teleportation magic requires a caster, so Elise suspected someone was hiding nearby. Juki analyzed and knew such teleportation magic couldn't be prepared in days, but took years. Coincidentally, 2 years ago, a stranger had arrived in the village. Just as she pointed this out, a young girl stammered, trying to claim she was a victim, but Juki remained suspicious. When Levia spoke of mermaids, Ama mentioned that sea beast people emit a distinctive scent, enabling instant recognition. Levia, as a high-class demon tribe member, showed no magical aura even in human form. Not even Elise noticed. So how did Amer detect Levia's true nature? Juki's probing question left Amer deep in thought. Then suddenly, Amer revealed his true self, causing the carriage to explode and transform into a dragon. The dragon attacked the three of them, leaving only Elise feeling guilty, blaming herself for the chaos. Amer boldly declared himself Juki's disciple. Juki called Elise her top student to assist in battle, and only then did Elise find the strength to fight. The trio worked in perfect harmony, defeating the troublemaking dragon. After the battle, Elise stayed behind to settle personal matters. She entered the house where the two sisters lived, only to hear Amer's voice echo behind her. Terrified, she drew her sword. The dragon in human disguise was far from dead, and had brought an army of demonic beasts to surround Elise's home. He boasted that all the villagers had become his puppets. Seeing Elise's blind loyalty to her sister, Amer revealed himself as Melua, a sorcerer commanding the beasts and one of Tomo's subordinates. Elise was paralyzed with fear, unable to believe the betrayal. Meanwhile, on the continent of beastmen, Shironeko was returning home after battle, warmly welcomed and fed by the townsfolk who adored her. Shironeko has a younger sister, Mineko, gravely ill at home. Worried, Shironeko vowed to heal her. Juki refused to let her close friend take the lead, trying to hire a beastman boatman instead. But after being scolded by the boatman's boss, the only option was for Levia to train harder and swim several more kilometers. The charming young man gently soothed Levia, successfully manipulating the sister's emotions. Suddenly, he mentioned that the boss would have a boat ready by tomorrow, so Juki gave up trying to persuade Levia, leaving her sulking. Shironeko visited Kuru's shop to pick up medicine for Mineko, only to be entrusted with a mission to assassinate Juki. Shocked, Shironeko quickly disguised herself and escaped when Juki and Levia arrived. On her way home, Shironeko's eyes caught sight of her target. Back home, the two sisters ate together, but Mineko ate very little, worrying Shironeko even more. After pondering, Shironeko made a decision. That night, while Juki and Levia slept soundly, the landlady let Shironeko inside to carry out her mission. Awkwardly, Shironeko asked to call Kuru Big Sister, seeing her as a protective figure who had always helped the two sisters. She dreamed that once paid, she could live peacefully with Kuru and Mineko somewhere far away. Startled, Shironeko hid as Zuki and Levia entered. Disguised, she slipped away unnoticed. But when Zuki's gaze accidentally locked onto her, Shironeko's target was clear. Him, the one returning home. The sisters shared a quiet meal, though Mineko barely ate. Shironeko pondered deeply, then made a decision. That night, while Juki and Levia slept soundly, the landlady opened the door for Shironeko to enter. Suddenly shy, Shironeko asked to call Kuru big sister, seeing her as a protective figure who had always supported them. She wished, once paid for her tasks, to live peacefully with Kuru and Mineko in a safe place. Kuru found Shironeko's innocence touching, gently ruffling her hair, and urged her to complete the mission first. Shironeko eagerly accepted this false affection, preparing to carry out the task. But as she reached to strike, an illusion spell shattered her attack. Then Zuki suddenly kicked her from behind. Juki questioned if she served Tom. Shironeko replied she was only sent to take his life. She unleashed her skills, attacking Juki, who braced for defeat. But Zuki caught Shironeko, delivering a harsh lesson for reckless magic use that endangered the town. Knocked unconscious after an 8-meter slam, Shironeko lay still as they approached until they realized the magic was a cursed spell. When she awoke, Zuki had brought her home. Seeing Mineko calmed Shironeko's nerves, and she shyly thanked them. Juki assured her that Mineko wasn't ill. Approaching Mineko, he cast a spell, causing a cursed ring to appear. Worried, Shironeko clutched Juki's arm, begging for her sister's salvation. Gently, Juki promised help. He laid Mineko on the bed, summoning his treasured relic to draw out the cursed magic. But just then, an ambush struck from outside. A stray arrow pierced Shironeko, who shielded him. That shadow was none other than Kuru, the landlady who had entrusted Shironeko's mission, before she could speak. Kuru was suddenly thrown back by the oceanic force wielded by Levia. The two women exchanged sharp words, Kuru puzzled why the sea god himself would follow a mere mortal man. Kuru began splitting herself to attack Levia, but Levia summoned the entire sea of Vung Tao onto the land and fought fiercely. In the end, Kuru was defeated by Levia and forced to reveal her true purpose. Just then, wounded Shironeko stepped forward to reason with Kuru, but was met with cold, disdain-branded, useless and insubordinate for calling her sister, causing the young girl to break down in tears. Kuru then revealed the terrifying truth. The Dark Lord's goal was to become a god and annihilate all races in this world. With that, she vanished into the shadows. At that moment, Juki emerged, just in time to see Mineko restored to health. He had also retrieved a necklace identical to the one Mineko wore. Shaking his head in disbelief, Juki muttered, "That Dark Lord still chasing godhood like a reckless youth, just like old times." With the events here behind them, the next day, Yuki and Levia set sail for their next destination to meet the Beast King, only to spot Shironeko's two sisters waiting in the distance. The sisters wanted to join Juki's cause, ready to support the battle should war erupt again. Both were invaluable fighters, and to enter the royal capital, they needed beastmen companions to ease their way. Plus, they longed to see Kuru again for a proper talk. Understanding this, Juki welcomed both sisters as comrades. Meanwhile, at the capital, tensions flared over the demon clan's fate. Only Joa sat calmly. Sensing something brewing, the king even winked at her. Excited, Joa rushed out to greet Juki's group. Though Shironeko's sisters wished to join, the guards refused entry. As Juki scratched his head, unsure how to proceed, a small figure descended from above like a bombshell. Joa herself, daughter of the Beast King and Juki's disciple. 5 years ago, Joa had challenged Juki to test her skills, only to be soundly defeated, proving he truly was her master. She clung to Juki all the way inside, much to the sisters' embarrassed amusement. Before they could enter the hall, the Beast King flung open the doors, greeting Juki with warm enthusiasm. Juki playfully pinned the king down, mirroring his daughter's antics, though the Beast King just grinned toothily. Looking around, everything inside seemed unchanged, but to the Beast King, Juki now appeared completely transformed, more imposing than even Sesu before him. Yet judging by his scent and aura, the Beast King was certain he was still the same man beneath the surface. No additional dialogue in this segment. Sesu and the Beast King were set for a grand banquet to welcome Juki's boyfriend, but Juki claimed urgent business brought him here instead. When the Beast King learned of the raging war between humans and demons in the kingdom, surprise flickered across his eyes. He felt the entire beast realm couldn't stand idly by. Hearing that Toma had already taken action here stirred even deeper thoughts within the Beast King and his comrades. As they debated, Lugatha, commander of the kingdom's army, and Jo-A's fiancé suddenly appeared to stop the dispute. All eyes turned to Jo-A, who shook her head in fearful refusal like a broken machine. The Beast King explained that Juki was his close friend, so how dare Luga interfere? Luga retorted sharply that the warrior, Toma, had been missing without a trace for 5 years. How could he prove he was still their ally now? Jo-A, seeing Juki criticized, stepped up to defend him fiercely. The Beast King sensed both sides had valid points. If so, the only solution was to unify the will of the Beast people. Luga pointed at Juki, challenging him to a duel. The Beast King, intrigued, ordered that whoever won would become Jo-A's fiancé. Juki felt trapped forced into a fight, and now even marriage negotiations were on the table. His status was suddenly in high demand. Not only Jo-A, the Beast King's daughter, but even the Shiraneko sisters wanted to claim him. Jo-A approached Luga at his quarters, urging him to give up. But Luga's resolve was unshaken. His chance to win was not zero, possessed a mystical technique from the east that amplified emotions fiercely. Despite the Beast King forbidding its use, Luga was determined to protect Jo-A, no matter the cost to his body or pride. Jo-A felt a deep disappointment that Luga wouldn't even look at her anymore, something she couldn't accept. The arena was packed, roaring with excitement. Seeing Jo-A's closeness with Juki fueled Luga's jealousy and rage. The duel began with Luga blitzing forward at lightning speed, catching Juki off guard. But Luga's attacks barely scratched Juki, who countered fiercely, drawing blood. Luga transformed into his beast form to fight harder, but was effortlessly slammed into the air by Juki. His pride refused to yield, igniting a furious, nearly inhuman rage. As Luga's arm glowed with dark magic, his hatred and power surged uncontrollably, an evil curse from the demon realm itself. Levia recognized the sinister spell and hurriedly tossed a charm to Juki. But even after severing one of Luga's arms, it regrew, and his attacks intensified. Jo-A rushed to support Juki, worried about the overwhelming cursed energy. Juki realized that with such dark power, victory meant risking everything he couldn't defend properly. Jo-A volunteered to shield Juki, standing firm as he summoned a fierce, hungry spirit ally. Suddenly, Toma's voice echoed, an apparition manifesting to speak with Juki. Jo-A cursed Toma for manipulating Luga, telling him off for being too loud. Toma then tried to send Jo-A away to talk privately with Juki, but Juki pointed his sword, protecting her fiercely. Hurt by Juki's broken promise to protect him, Toma vowed vengeance, planning to take every life around. Juki snarled, calling Toma a yandere and warning that if he dared harm the innocent, he'd be the one to die. Toma's hatred peaked as he announced an invasion by Disia's forces had begun on the demon continent, then vanished like a phantom. Though Toma departed, Luga was no longer himself. Juki comforted the Beast King not to blame himself, and urged them to unite to protect everyone's safety. Everyone had left except Jo-A, who stayed behind at Luga's side until he departed. Seeing Juki approach, she regained calm, preparing for the battles ahead. 5 years ago, Sesu and Toma were summoned to Disia's kingdom. The people rejoiced at the arrival of heroes to save their land, but Sesu grew angry, scolding them for dragging private wars onto their backs. Sesu's strength inspired Toma's admiration, even as he was summoned into this war-torn world. Sesu trained relentlessly, while Toma, weak and bitter, felt life had betrayed him, thrust into endless conflict. Sesu comforted Toma, reminding him that since they were summoned here, a world teeming with demons and demon kings, they had to grow stronger first. Together they vowed to end the war. Sesu agreed with Toma that senseless killing of unknown enemies in a foreign land was wrong, but Toma doubted their small numbers could make a difference, feeling inferior to Sesu. Sesu placed a hand on Toma's shoulder, assuring him they were chosen warriors and had to try, no matter what. They were the only ones from their homeland sharing this fate. Sesu promised to protect Toma, easing his fears. Hearing this, Toma shed some doubts and agreed to cooperate. Feeling his strength growing, Sesu packed for battle, while Toma vowed to become stronger alongside him, despite lingering fears. Years ago, Sesu and Toma were summoned to the kingdom of Disia. The people rejoiced, hopeful for salvation from warriors, but Sesu's fury erupted. He cursed them, refusing to bear their burdens. His fierce spirit inspired Toma deeply. Despite being summoned, Sesu trained relentlessly, while frail Toma felt crushed by the cruel twist of fate that thrust them into a war-torn world. Sesu urged Toma to grow stronger, reminding him that this world was rife with demons and a demon lord. No matter the hardship, they must fight hard to survive. Resolute, Sesu vowed to stand with Tomato battle and live together, bound by unbreakable will. The plan they hatched together was to end the war, just the two of them. Sesu believed, just as Toma said, that slaughtering unknown enemies in an unfamiliar land was a grave mistake. Yet, Toma felt powerless. Just the two of them couldn't possibly stop such a massive war. Besides, he wasn't as strong as Sesu anymore, and that weighed heavily on him. Sesu sat down, resting a reassuring hand on Toma's shoulder, reminding him that they were chosen heroes. Even if victory seemed impossible, they had to try. After all, only the two of them shared this bond and fate. Sesu promised to protect Toma, and urged him to trust in their strength. Hearing these words, Toma's fear began to wane, and he agreed to stand with Sesu. Feeling his power grow, Sesu packed up, ready to face battle first. Though fear still lingered in his heart, Toma vowed that once Sesu left, he would push himself to be strong enough to fight alongside him. Sesu, energized by Toma's determination, smiled and bumped fists before stepping out of the city with LK's group. Not long after, Toma's relentless efforts earned him a promotion. Through tireless battles, Toma rose to become a knight. The entire capital celebrated him, hoping he would become the general who would turn the tide of the kingdom's fate. Toma himself was thrilled each step brought him closer to fulfilling the promise made with Sesu. Alone, Toma stayed behind to defend the kingdom, yet anyone who spotted him from afar trembled and surrendered. After the war's end, Toma planned to depart, but then a voice echoed from a distant statue, manipulating his mind. It called him weak and pathetic, sensing the envy and despair within. The voice promised to grant Toma's deepest desires, and it seemed the darkness easily took root. Succumbing to its control, Toma's eyes opened to the storm outside, unaware of the chaos brewing inside him. In his confusion, Toma accidentally kicked his subordinate's glasses, losing his reason and fixating only on battle, promises, and dreams. At that moment, his troops arrived, urgently ordering a ceasefire to secure peace. The peace delegation was approaching the battlefield. And then, amidst the clatter of horses and murmurs of magic, Toma recognized Sesu inside a carriage. Surprised, only Toma remained lost in thought. Returning to the capital, he saw nations signing peace treaties, while Sesu stood admired and beloved by an image that stirred jealousy deep within him. That night, Toma climbed to the rooftop and met Sesu. Joy filled the air. Sesu had ended the war alone, a feat Toma felt he could never match. He longed to share his burdens, but Sesu, immersed in his own path, barely noticed, caught up in being the star of the victory celebration. Yet, Toma revealed that the war was truly over, and he had discovered a way to return to their old world. Toma invited Sesu to go back with him, but Sesu declined. He wished to stay, to explore the new and wondrous life this strange world still held for him. Heartbroken by Sesu's refusal, Toma spiraled into despair. The dark magic within him began to surge uncontrollably, twisting his humanity away. His entire being brimmed with ominous power. Threatening to annihilate this world, Toma launched a fierce assault on Sesu. The two clashed violently, their battle shaking the very air. The loud commotion alarmed their comrades, who rushed to the rooftop to find the aftermath of a devastating explosion and no sign of either warrior. Toma had teleported to the sacred temple, dragging his battered, weakened body to rest alone in the shadows, sinking into solitude. Suddenly, the mysterious gem he carried flared with radiant light, illuminating terrifying scenes of human experiments. Toma realized he was not alone in his suffering. Many others shared his pain, trapped in horrors beyond imagining. Resolute, he vowed to rescue them all from this nightmare. After freeing the captives, Toma rallied these fellow outcasts to join his cause, to destroy this hopeless world together. Though confused by his mission, they chose to stand with him. Thus, the true battle began. Toma gathered a legion of otherworldly beings to fight alongside him, seeking to end this broken world and ascend as its god. Meanwhile, the Destinia army advanced toward the continent ahead, unaware that their real enemy was not the demon tribe they expected, but Toma himself, whose overwhelming dark power they sensed. Yet, with their generals lost in a haze, no matter how much they tried to warn or reason, they were branded as spies. Yohei feared this misunderstanding would ignite a needless war with the demon kingdom. No word had come from Juki. She believed deeply that Juki was striving to prevent this conflict. He once told her he'd been summoned twice, and his mission was to stop this war. She and her comrades waited anxiously, hoping for peace to prevail. Everyone in Juki's group placed absolute trust in him, their focus unwavering on the plan ahead. They vowed to give their all, refusing to take any life in this battle. As the ship neared the shore, the two sides clashed fiercely. Gren led the band of brave warriors, reminding everyone not to chase fleeing enemies or strike down the wounded. At this critical moment, the enemy's attention locked onto the front lines. Though it was their first glimpse of war, and fear and chaos gripped them all, suddenly a friend was about to be attacked. Just in time, Yuhi swooped in to save her. "Stay calm, don't be afraid," Yuhi urged. "Let's fight together." They rushed to where the warriors had already cornered a demon tribe member. As one warrior prepared to deliver the final blow, Yuhi shouted, stopping him. But her friends scolded her fiercely. If they didn't kill their foes, they'd be the ones who died. Yuhi tried to reason, but suddenly a chilling laugh echoed through the air. "Too noble, aren't you?" sneered a voice. Then, the summoner called forth massive demon beasts from the ground. Yuhi recognized him instantly, the same villain who attacked them the day they were summoned. Among the chaos, a red-haired swordsman appeared, stealthily slashing the spirits. That swordsman was none other than Elise. Elise was cursed, turned into a puppet under Malua's control. Elka, burning with fury, charged to attack Malua, but Elise, manipulated by dark magic, stepped forward to challenge Elka. Desperate, Elka tried to awaken Elise's true self, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. Suddenly, Malua sliced her own wrist, summoning a colossal mass of dark energy. These merged into terrifying demon beasts that launched a fierce assault on Elka's group. Swiftly, they destroyed Malua's summoned beasts and pressed toward her. Seeing Elise approach, Gren stepped up to battle her, swiftly defeating the cursed swordswoman in mere strikes. Elka seized the moment, knocking Malua's demonic blade away and landing a critical blow that sent her sprawling. Though her demonic core was shattered, Malua's strength shockingly surged. She smiled, cold-layer built and enhanced beyond normal humans. She harbored deep resentment for being fashioned as a weapon. Without Lord Toma's rescue, none of this would exist. Fueled by hatred and loyalty, they fought to obliterate this world for their savior. Malua poured all her remaining energy into opening a new dark magic circle, summoning her ultimate trump card. But this immense power came at a terrible cost. It burned her life away. That fury transformed into raw demonic energy. Elka's group barely held their ground when suddenly a butterfly fluttered out from Elise. Seizing the moment, Elise stabbed Malua from behind a fatal strike from the very sister she once cherished. Memories flooded back in agonizing waves. Malua's eyes closed as she slipped away, ending the brutal fight. Elise was rushed to healing, miraculously regaining her memories. But peace was short-lived. A new invisible force attacked them, a formidable new enemy emerging. Yuhi volunteered to step into the battle in place of Elka's group. Though everyone worried about this overwhelming foe, Yuhi yearned for their recognition, craving to be seen as a true comrade. With resolve, she took the front lines. Gren understood that Yuhi was their last hope, so they united, placing their faith in her and taking up supportive roles. Just as the enemy prepared to strike, a familiar aura appeared, none other than Juki, descending from the skies. Seeing Juki again moved Yuhi to tears, their reunion a beacon of hope. After Juki left to aid others, the Beast King summoned reinforcements. Everyone's spirits lifted at Juki's arrival. Elka tried to rush over to tease Juki, but Yuhi beat her to it, stealing the moment. After her impulsive act, Yuhi calmed down, and amidst the battlefield, a shy smile flickered. She proudly showed off a new skill, learned from Elka, a playful transformation into a chair for Juki to sit on. Juki, stunned, realized his friend had already been spoiled and corrupted during their brief time apart. Laughing, he told her to fall back with Elka's group while he took the elegant, long-haired foe head-on. Juki recognized this enemy as the one who had fought him back at DG. The battle ignited. Meanwhile, the Shiraneko sisters prepared to confront their lost elder sister. Though they knew Kuru wasn't evil, they hoped to hear her story and avoid fighting. But Kuru dismissed their pleas, attacking without hesitation. Shiraneko realized words wouldn't sway her, and reluctantly prepared for battle. Kuru twisted their minds, urging them to accept death quietly as their sister, but Mineo stood firm, defending her sibling. Shiraneko's blind trust shattered. Her duty as an elder sister demanded she protect Mineo at all costs. The three clashed fiercely. Kuru's swift strikes cut through both, forcing them to unite for a decisive counterattack. Their failure to completely destroy Kuru left her conscious, enabling a brutal assault on Mineo. Shiraneko, beaten by the very sister she once loved, felt crushed but summoned her last strength to rise and fight on. Shiraneko reached out to her sister, and together their magic fused into a mighty force, their bond, the ultimate trump card. This overwhelming power terrified Kuru, who soon fell. Yet, wounded and defiant, she refused to surrender. Haunted by painful memories, she unleashed her remaining strength but was finally defeated by the sisters. In her final moments, Kuru renounced all trust in sisterhood and accepted her fate. Elsewhere, the reckless Chocobon fought fiercely against enemy soldiers, but found himself outmatched by a relentless foe. Reinforcements from the Beast Kingdom arrived, surprising everyone with their strength. Jo-A, observing Chocobon's hardened physique, guessed it hid something more sinister than mere muscle, a pile of scrap metal perhaps. She hadn't expected such a monstrous being. If you see her as your sister, then just accept your fate, they said. But Mineo wasn't so easily fooled and stood firm to protect her sister. Now, Shiraneko's blind trust in Kuru was shattered. Bound by her duty as an older sister, she had to shield Mineo. With that, the three clashed fiercely. Kuru, swift and ruthless, slashed at both sisters. Forced to unite, they fought to decisively take her down. Their failure to finish her off left Kuru conscious and dangerous, and she launched a brutal attack on Mineo, knocking her sister far away. Shiraneko, battered by someone she once trusted as an elder sister, was devastated but summoned all her strength to rise and keep fighting. She desperately tried to reach her sister, and the two sisters combined their magic, weaving a colossal force here. Their unity was their trump card. The terrifying power they unleashed shook Kuru to her very core. Swiftly, the sisters brought her down, yet Kuru, gasping for breath, refused to surrender. Haunted by a painful past, she summoned every last ounce of strength, only to be defeated by the sisters' relentless will in her final moments. As Kuru lay barely alive, she had lost all faith in familial bonds, choosing instead to close her eyes to life's struggles. Meanwhile, the troublemaker Bon fought fiercely against the soldiers, but fate dealt him a harsh hand when he faced a fierce opponent, Jo-A. To everyone's surprise, reinforcements from the Beast Kingdom arrived. Seeing Bon's rugged physique, Jo-A guessed it wasn't mere muscle but a body forged from scrap metal. She hadn't expected such a sinister creature. But Build revealed the horrifying truth. Bon was the product of humanity's cruel experiments repeatedly tested and broken since childhood. These brutal words shocked Jo-A deeply. When Bon mentioned Luga, something snapped inside Jo-A, igniting a fury that propelled her to attack him. At first, she pitied him, a victim of twisted science, but now she saw him as a menace who should have lost his mind long ago. As the daughter of the Beast King, she vowed to take down anyone who dared insult her people's pride. Unbeknownst to them, Bon's power was steel-hard and terrifyingly versatile. He could reshape his body at will. Then, striking Jo-A directly, he knocked her unconscious. Yet Jo-A refused defeat. Rising with fierce determination, she unleashed a massive wave of magic, a wild beast's roar defying the cold steel bullets flying at her. She charged, landing a furious blow on Bon. Bon countered with his ultimate move, piercing through Jo-A. Everyone thought the battle was over, but Jo-A's spirit transformed. She became a beast unleashed, roaring against all odds, fighting with the ferocity of a wild heart refusing to break. Yet, he spared her life, and even tended to her wounds before accepting defeat, a gesture that stunned Jo-A. She wanted to ask why someone like him allied with the demon Build, but the truth was simple. He just liked handsome guys and followed along. In his final moments, he told Jo-A to carry on with that fierce pride burning inside her. Meanwhile, Juki Van fought the long-haired enemy who tried to strike a secret pressure point and deliver a finishing blow, but Juki caught him off guard and broke free. Refusing to lose, the enemy unleashed his full hidden power. The two clashed violently, their battle raging like a storm. Sadly, Juki was pushed away, yet he rose and unleashed his true magic, shattering the enemy's illusionary armor into 100 shards. Juki urged him to surrender, but the enemy stubbornly refused, knowing that death was no longer the worst fate for an experiment victim like him. They had no place to call home, so their last stand was to fight the world itself. This desperate defiance was their final salvation. The enemy charged fiercely, fueling Juki's fury as he swung his sword to send him off early. News that all his minions were wiped out reached the demon Build, who sighed, surprised that even SSU was blocking him. In the final moments, he had to personally end this battle. On this side, the source of the ultimate magic power was felt, signaling a fierce fight ahead. Livia hurried to DJ's side, anxiously waiting for news. When she heard that Yo was stable, relief washed over her. But DJ Cher sensed 3 strong magic energies on the battlefield, likely Build's minions, but all had vanished. Just as they thought the tide had turned, Demon Build appeared from behind, targeting Livia and DJ Cher. Before they could be overwhelmed, Juki arrived just in time. Seeing Juki arrive stirred a hint of jealousy among them. Without a word, Juki swung his sword directly at the demon. The battle erupted fiercely, neither side yielding. But in the chaos, Juki exposed a weakness, allowing Demon Build to strike from behind. Build wondered if Juki had unlocked a secret skill, but Juki just smirked and pressed on with the fight. As his sword neared Demon Build, Juki suddenly dropped it and threw a powerful magic punch. Sensing their endless cat-and-mouse game wouldn't end well, Demon Build accelerated the battle by transforming the sword into a massive gun. Shots pierced through the castle, forcing Juki to retreat cautiously. He dashed forward and kicked, sending Build flying outside to continue the fight. Zuki nimbly dodged Demon Build's rapid-fire bullets, now unleashed in a relentless barrage, but even he struggled to keep up. At first, Yuki unleashed his magic to counter the colossal power within Toma, which began to erupt uncontrollably. He was thrown far away, and just then, everyone had arrived safely. Juki wanted to urge Toma to give up and end this fight, but the memories trapped inside Toma refused to let him. His growing hatred, jealousy, and feelings of abandonment made the magic inside him flare up into something terrifying. Now, with this magic, Toma was no longer himself. Juki realized the truth and felt deeply troubled because Toma was being controlled by some invisible force. The two clashed fiercely, but unexpectedly, Toma's cannon turned its aim toward Juki's comrades. Luckily, Everyone below united to support Juki, giving him a chance to strike back at Toma. Juki moved like a lightning storm, violently slashing toward Toma to end this battle. Toma was defeated, falling from the sky, and in that moment, memories flooded back, both the beautiful and the painful. The hatred only grew stronger. Suddenly, Toma summoned a massive cannon in midair, aiming it at Juki with eyes stripped of humanity. Juki was struck, crashing to the ground, barely breathing. Toma, believing he had won, was filled with joy and satisfaction, no longer hiding in the shadows of his past. But Juki was only pretending to be defeated. He was very much alive. Though Toma had grown stronger, Juki knew that no matter how powerful he became, if he forgot what truly mattered, he could never beat his older brother. Juki began to cast a spatial spell to block Toma's control over the giant cannon and prepared to finish him. In that moment, Toma panicked, unwilling to face a lonely death. He blamed Juki for breaking his promise to protect him. Darkness crept in, obscuring Toma's sight of Sesu. Finally, Toma understood a simple truth. All he truly wanted was to be by Sesu's side. Unexpectedly, destroying the jade ring gave Toma a chance to awaken again. Juki never wanted to kill Toma, but only sought to bring him back to his senses. After all, Juki had promised to protect him. Juki's heartfelt words moved Toma to tears, and at last Toma understood. No matter what, he could never defeat his older brother. After the battle ended, Toma was imprisoned. Juki and DJ waited to decide his punishment, which was simple. Toma was to use all his magic to perform a traditional spell, sending their classmates back to the other world. Toma was surprised by the leniency but accepted it. DJ Cho explained that without magic, Toma would become an ordinary person, unable to commit evil again. They had seen the kindness in his face. Dewey added that when the time came, Toma could return to the other world. That day, Toma used his magic to teleport the students back to their original world, but he himself did not follow. This surprised Juki, but Toma was determined to atone by traveling and seeing the world through his own eyes. Juki was happy for him and fully supported this decision. Juki also decided to journey again. When the LK group parted ways with him, they wept with emotion. This time, Yuhi joined Juki, determined to stay by his side. Together, they said goodbye and set off. They traveled to Levia's seas to visit her she saw protecting the ocean's peace as her mission. Just then, a giant squid appeared, causing chaos and forcing her to act, though it nearly strangled her with its tentacles. Oxygen arrived just in time. Meanwhile, Alice was being treated in the Magic Kingdom Evil, where the Demon King was busy with the kingdom's prosperity. Yuki and Yuhi visited and were pleased to see everything recovering quickly. Juzi's shop was now thriving and beloved by all. Next, Juki went to the Beast Continent to meet his best friend, the Beast King, but soldiers stopped him at the gate, not recognizing him. They even shackled him. He tried to explain, but no one listened. Suddenly, 3 giant cats descended from the sky, pinning down the guards so Juki could enter. His 2 cousins were granted high positions by Beast King Fong, and Yoa had matured, becoming commander of the kingdom's legion under Fong's leadership. They vowed to someday surpass Juki, who accepted the challenge. After the war ended, the world blossomed anew, and Juki wanted to show Yuhi all its wonders. This magical anime journey now comes to a close.